Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for stopping by. I'm guessing if you've clicked on this video, you are experiencing or have experienced at some point some kind of creative art block. Now I know that there are tons of videos out there already talking about this subject, so what makes mine so different? Well, probably not much. I really just wanted to share my experience with how I let it get the better of me for 2 freaking years, and more importantly, I really just wanted to share how I came to conquer the old block. My mic just died, so I'm gonna swap it out. That is better. In case you're new here and don't know who I am, my name is Charlie. I've been a conceptual fine art photographer for 4.5 years now, and around 2.5 years into my career, I hit the worst creative block of all time. To put it into context, I started in September of 2018, and in those final 4 months, I created 42 conceptual images. In 2019, I created 61, and in 2020, I created just shy of 100 conceptual images. 2020 was a crazy big year for me. I started gaining recognition for my work, I showed my art in a gallery for the first time, and I started earning an income through my art. And on top of all that, just to make things harder for myself, I did a 30-day self-portrait challenge where I shot an image every day and filmed it for YouTube. By the end of 2020, I kind of just hit this wall, and in 2021, I created a total of 7 conceptual images. And in 2022, I created a whopping total of 3. What do you know? I was a photographer who wasn't taking photos. Say what? Despite this block, I carried on as a working artist doing exhibitions and workshops and selling my pre-existing artworks. Basically just living off my former glory. But the fact of the matter is, I have created next to no art for the past 2 years. During this time, I didn't really speak openly about it, and I was kind of just avoiding it and hoping that it would go away. And then it didn't. So let's talk about that. Sadly, avoiding our problems does not make them magically disappear. So you bet I had to recognize and ask myself why. Why was I suddenly void of all creation? First of all, I realized I was burned out, especially after that 30-day challenge. I felt zero desire to pick up my camera and go and shoot something, anything. So I decided right there and then that I needed a break. What should have been a month, max 2 months off, ended up being a very extended holiday. And during this time, I started building up this fear in my head of actually getting back out there and creating new work. And don't let me get started on ye old imposter syndrome, feelings of insecurity and self-doubt. I fell into this dark pit of despair where I felt hopeless and sorry for myself. Wah, wah, wah. And lastly, I was bored, man. I was in this rut of creating what I believed at the time to be the same thing over and over again, and I felt like I hadn't really accomplished anything from an artistic standpoint. Now, acknowledgement and an understanding of how you got here in the first place is important. It's not a fix. Breaking news, this just in, you actually need to put in the work to pull yourself out of it. Which leads me to the next step in this master plan of mine. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your creativity is to forget about what you usually do and try something completely different. So I started knitting, mostly because I could do this while sitting on the couch and continue wallowing in my own self-pity. And while my scarf ended up with several slipped stitches and several holes you could look through, I was actually having fun. I really should get back into that. After knitting my imperfect scarf, I felt a sense of accomplishment, like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't a complete failure after all. So I got off that couch and climbed out of that pit and I started painting. I tried watercolors and acrylics, and once again, I was actually having fun. There was no pressure for me to create something that I could end up selling, so it didn't matter if it looked like a steaming pile of poo. I just played with the paint and let it be. I really should pick that back up again. With my latest experiment, I've been getting my hands dirty, like real dirty. I've been getting them dirty with clay. I went ahead and booked myself into a clay course, and from the first class, I was hooked. I came home from that class and my husband said that he hadn't seen me looking this happy in forever. And honestly, I hadn't felt that creatively satisfied in such a long time. I had so much fun. I really should pick that back up again. Jokes! I never stopped. I can now say I'm a photographer and sculptor, and sometimes painter, and occasionally knitter of badly made garments. The point is, kids, thanks to all of that experimentation, it reignited in me this spark of creativity and inspiration. Talking of inspiration, allow me to segue this conversation into step 3. Since my silly little imagination was on a hiatus, shall we say, the audacity! I started looking for inspiration outside of myself in the form of books about art and business. One book that I really loved was Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I also treated myself to some good old-fashioned nature. I went for walks, got distracted by a swing, and then I went for more walks. I said hello to a giant steel elephant, and I checked out other artists' works, not just in my own medium, but other mediums as well. I became obsessed with looking at other sculptors' artworks and was just blown away by their craft. That is actually what inspired me to try sculpting for the first time myself. Side note, enter with caution when looking at other artists' work. There is a fine line between getting inspired and falling into the trap of comparison, which ultimately leads to imposter syndrome. So all this inspiration I was getting from outside sources helped to sparking me creative ideas of my own. I thought it would be so cool to do a series based around what I was going through, but doing it in my style, obviously. And to me, it felt like I had lost my imagination, so why not create a series about a girl who loses her imagination and then goes on an adventure to find it? With all these ideas now floating around in my head, it seemed as though my imagination had decided to show its face again. About time! I was starting to feel good. I wasn't wallowing as much and I started planning out ideas. But there was still one more thing that I had to do to really kick this blockage to the curb. The fact is, the truth hurts, my friends, and I really needed to face some hard truths and down a big full cup of harden the f*** up. At some point, not that long ago actually, I made the decision to stop feeling sorry for myself and start managing my thinking and my attitude towards not just myself and my abilities, but also towards my art. I resolved to stop playing the victim of my own narrative and no longer tolerate excuses or settling for mediocrity. Sometimes we all need someone to give us some tough love. And if there is no one around to dish it out for you, well, dish it out to yourself. After coming clean about the role I was playing in my own suffering, it really was like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I felt renewed and ready to kick some creative butt. And once I started getting back into it kind of just snowballed from there. Ideas are flowing and my imagination just feels limitless again, and I am ready to create new art. If you're going through something similar right now, just remember that going through creative blocks is a personal process and it's essential to find what works best for you. Feel free to give these strategies a go and hopefully they'll work for you. I want to thank you for being here today and hope that you find your way out of the other side because you deserve to make your art. Oh, and by the way, if you're new here and haven't subscribed yet, and you like videos about photography and art, then I personally recommend sticking around and giving that little subscribe button a click. It really helps me to grow my channel and it gives me the confidence to keep creating these videos. I'll be seeing you in the next video.